Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, and I believe that the right book at the right time can change lives, and that all readers should read children's literature, especially adults. So that's what we do here on the KidLit Love podcast. We celebrate all things children's literature: picture books, early readers, middle grade, and young adult novels for readers of all ages. In each episode, we'll talk with children's literature authors and discuss their books, their hopes, their dreams for readers, their writing process, and much, much more. Whether you're an adult reading to their inner child or connecting the young readers in your life with fantastic books, you've come to the right place. So grab a notebook to build your TBR, and let's get to today's episode of KidLit Love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the KidLit Love podcast. I'm Stephanie Affinito, your KidLit loving host, inviting you back to another bookish conversation with a children's literature author. Today, I'm talking with Kristen Remenar. Kristen is the author of multiple books for young children, including The Groundhog's Dilemma and Squirrel Needs a Break. She's here today to talk about her newest picture book, Owl's Fall Feast Fiasco, a delightful book about planning a fall feast and learning a bit about your friends in the process, too. This book is perfect for this seasonal time of year, and I can't wait to talk with her all about it. So we're going to get right to the episode. Kristen, welcome to KidLit Love. I'm so glad you're here today.
Oh, Stephanie, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I feel like it's been a long time coming, us
Mhm.
having this conversation, but it is the perfect time of year, I
It
think, for
is.
us to have it with this new book of yours.
It is. This is the time for fall feasts.
Yes. So before we actually get to the book today, I always love to start with the author. So I'd love it if you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey that you've taken through children's literature.
Sure. Um, I was originally an elementary teacher, and then I became a children's librarian. I've always loved to write. I earned my first writing award in second grade, and grew up loving to write, but never thinking that that was an actual job that I could do. I thought that authors lived off in author land and that it was never something attainable for me. But then I think for a lot of us, when right around, and my daughter was born, my first child was born in 1999, and the whole world was talking about Y2K and, the new millennium, and this was the time for fresh starts and for um, the world was changing. And I thought if ever there was a time to reach for a dream, here I had a brand new baby and I was going to be a stay-home mom. I thought if ever there was a time to reach for a dream, this was it.
Yeah.
And so I joined SCBWI, which is the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And I got serious about trying to finally return to my love of writing and to make a go of publishing. Um, and my life took a lot of twists and turns along the way. But yeah, my first picture book came out in 2015. Um, and it's Groundhog's Dilemma because I was born on Groundhog Day.
Oh, you were.
I
Wow.
was. And I grew up in elementary school, always having kids tease me and say, "Oh, you're a groundhog, and are you going to see your shadow?" And I grew up in Michigan, so every year, no matter what the groundhog saw, we have long winters.
You still had winter.
Exactly. So I grew up thinking if I could make spring come early, I would. And that's what led me to think, how, if I could convince groundhog to make spring come early, like what could I do? And that's what led me to think, I wonder if there are other animals out there trying to sway groundhog's opinion one way or the other. And what if groundhog were like me, a people pleaser who just wanted to make everyone happy and said to all of his friends, sure, I can make spring come early for you. I can make winter be longer for you. And then on the big day, find himself stuck having promised everyone everything and of course not being able to deliver.
Yes. I think a lot of us out there are nodding our heads, going, "Oh, I think we've been in that situation too."
Right, right, right.
So,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
The wonderful thing is that my editor, Yolanda Scott at Charles Bridge, really enjoyed Groundhog's Dilemma and said, I love the characters. Let's see if we can have a series of these. Um, so then that wonderful thing happened in 2015. In 2016, um, I met Yolanda face to face. The book was 1 month old, and she said, I'd love to have a series of these books. That very day, I had a stroke,
Oh,
and it changed my life completely. We were in Boston. I live in Michigan. So my husband and I were in Boston for the American Library Association's conference. We had the most fabulous weekend. I got to sign my books at the conference. We got to meet my editor and meet with an agent and got to, rub elbows with all these fantastic authors and illustrators and have my editor say, we would love a series of these books. And less than 2 hours later, I was in the hospital with a devastating stroke and
oh,
my life just stopped.
yeah.
Yeah. So it took me years of recovery to be able to even be able to read a book from start to finish and, and be able to tolerate the visual disturbances and be able to comprehend it clearly. But that's why there's such a gap between Groundhog's Dilemma being published in 2015 and then the second book in the series, Squirrel Needs a Break, coming out just last year because of all the brain recovery that I had to do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
I can imagine. There's a lot behind that quite the journey phrase. My goodness. So that second book coming out, that that of course is a milestone for any author to have a second book coming out. But for
Yeah.
you, that must have felt like I am back. I
It,
am here.
yeah, it was definitely a triumph and to feel like, not only can I read again, but I can write again and write something that is worthy of being published. So that was, yes, Groundhog's Dilemma was my first picture book baby, which was wonderful. But then to have Squirrel Needs a Break felt like, yeah, that I've made it back to being myself again.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Tell us
Yeah,
about that book. Now, I want listeners to know about that book as well,
yeah.
because that book feels like one that we all should be like praising from the rooftops because
Oh,
it represents a lot behind it.
yeah. Well, on that momentous day, when I had the stroke, that morning when I met with Yolanda, we were talking about Groundhog's Dilemma and talking about how the characters in the book, each of them has such a unique personality, and wouldn't it be fun to see each of them kind of step into the spotlight on their own? And Squirrel is notoriously grumpy in the book. And I had written him as, being a dad saying that he was grumpy because he was stuck in the nest all winter with his kits, and that's why he wanted an early spring. Well, the genius illustrator of these books is Matt Faulkner. He also happens to be my amazing husband. And so when he gets a manuscript, he just runs with it and adds all these amazing details that just draw readers in. So when he illustrated Groundhog's Dilemma, he drew three little squirrel kits that were bouncing all over the pages. And it became very clear why Squirrel really wanted an early spring because those squirrel kits of his were fluffy and cute, but nutso.
The
They
walls.
were, they were squirrely. So it became clear, oh, Squirrel, Squirrel is a single dad. It was just Squirrel, and he had his hands full with these three little squirrel kits. So it just made sense that this poor squirrel needed a break. Now, I was a single mom for several years, and my husband Matt was a single dad for several years. Our family is a blended family together. And we both know that um, single parents have a lot on their plates, and it really does. We both leaned a lot on our family and on our family of friends, our friends who became like family, our community, to help us get through those years of raising crazy kids sometimes, getting all the sporting events and sleepovers. And so we wanted to show that in a book that, when Squirrel needs a break, that when he, as a single parent, might say, it's just me raising these kids, that really he has a family of friends that he can rely on. So it's a little love letter to all the single parents out there.
Oh, wonderful. And then that brings us to the third one.
Yes.
I adore Owl's Fall Feast Fiasco.
Oh,
Listeners can't see me, but it's in my hands, and I'm
oh,
going to be
yeah.
flipping through the pages as we talk about it. And I believe that all children's literature is for kids and adults, right? I feel like it has a place in every reader's TBR stack, but there's something about this book that is going to be so delightfully enjoyed by kids because there is a bit of a fiasco going on that the reader gets to lean into. But for adults, on a couple of levels. One, the literal level of we are responsible planning those feasts. And there
Mhm.
is so much involved and so much to worry about that sometimes we forget that the goal is to actually enjoy the people who show up.
Right, right.
And then, that second level that I think all readers are going to get simply because they're immersed in the story, which is, sometimes we have assumptions about each other,
Mhm.
and they are very well intended
Mhm.
assumptions, but they are assumptions. And sometimes the very best thing we could do is just ask and listen. Like, oh,
Mhm.
so many levels that readers are going to be able to dive into this book. And I feel like it's one, Kristen, that needs to be on everybody's Thanksgiving table so that we
Oh,
can
thank
have a
you.
chat about it. So I know I kind of gave probably your description away, but I would love, from your point of view of how this story came to be like the others. Tell us about Owl's Fall Feast Fiasco.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your kind words about the book.
Welcome.
When it came for the third book, um, I've always wanted to write a book actually about a platypus because platypuses are these incredibly strange creatures. They are, they don't fit into any one category. They are a little bit like a mammal, but also a bit like a bird, but also a bit like a reptile. They're just these really cool, wonky little creatures, and I find them fascinating. But platypuses live in Australia, and my series of, Groundhog and Friends is set, somewhere in the northwestern hemisphere. And I thought, how can I write about a platypus and somehow bring him to bring him to my Groundhog and Friends world? So I thought, oh, who would be most interested in meeting a platypus? Well, it would probably be Owl, because um, Owl likes to think that he's the wise one of the group and that he knows just about everything that's going on.
Mhm.
And I thought he's the one who'd be most intrigued by meeting and getting to know platypus who doesn't fit into any one category. Um, and it's really struck me the idea of the assumptions that it's so easy for all of us to make about each other.
Mhm.
Um, when I go to school visits or when I go to bookstores and I talk with kids, I tell them about how my son is 6'1", and every time, people talk with him, he's tall, he's very strong, and they always say, "Oh, you must play
Basketball.
basketball because he's tall."
Yeah.
And my son has to say, "Actually, I don't play basketball." My son is very athletic, but he does rock wall climbing and he does play volleyball. But he plays disc golf. He plays other sports, but he's never been into basketball. It's just an assumption people have always made because he's tall. My daughter is 5'1". So I have a son who's 6'1" and a daughter who's 5'1". And they're so cute when they stand next to each other. Now, my daughter, because she's very small, um, people often think, oh, she's a tiny little princess fairy. And she's a beautiful, beautiful soul. But if you offered my daughter the choice between a tiara and a sword, she would take the sword every day because she is a strong, powerful, feisty warrior woman.
Yes.
She's a nurse and she's very much got her warrior energy, and she's never been um, a delicate petal of a girl.
Mhm.
So it's again the assumptions that people make. And I think that a lot of kids and a lot of people butt up against people looking at us on the surface level and saying, oh, I automatically know all about you. When in reality, we all have multiple layers and levels, and none of us fit into any one category. So that's how Owl's Fall Feast Fiasco came about. I thought it'd be really fun to have Owl, who thinks he knows just about everything, encounter a platypus who doesn't fall into any one category, and then realize he's been putting all of his friends into categories and realize that he's got that wrong about every single one of his friends too.
Yes, and that's the thing that I enjoyed as a reader, and I know readers will enjoy, is that we get the inside scoop, right? We could see that Owl is having these assumptions that, Rabbit is going to like the candied carrots, or the tortoise is going to like the bugs and not the flowers. And so Owl's just going along doing his thing, but us as the readers, because of your husband's amazing illustrations,
Yes.
the facial expressions of, like the side eye, or oh gosh, like do I tell Owl? The
Hmm.
reader starts to anticipate, like, oh boy, Owl's got it wrong. And from animal to animal to animal, as kids figure it out, it's just such a nice feeling as a reader to be on that inside scoop, and without, giving things away of what actually happens at the end, figuring out what Owl's going to do about it. So
Yes.
just such delight, as well as learning on the pages.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Now tell us a bit more about the illustrations from your point of view. I love the bright, almost like an autumn color palette that
Great.
really invites you in. You've got these beautiful glossy pages and the speech bubbles that just make you want to lean in and get on part of the action. I'd love to hear what you think about them from your point of view.
You know, working with my husband on these books has been amazing. One thing that I love that Matt does is that he loves to hide details into all of his pictures that draw kids in.
Mhm.
Um, I love whenever we do readings, kids will often spot very quickly, "Oh, there are faces hidden." Matt loves to hide faces. So as you flip through the pictures, you'll notice in the trees, on Owl's cups, all over in all the details of the pages, you'll find faces hidden. Um, in Groundhog's Den, um, he's got his little bear, Mr. Cuddles, is actually a groundhog instead of a bear. There are tons and tons of details that Matt loves to hide in the pictures. And um, also, because he is my husband, he he drew hair to look like me a little bit. So as you go through and you notice the drawings, that was also his little love letter to me, is that he drew hair to look a little bit like me.
Those beautiful waves, yes.
Yeah, so that was there are little hints throughout the book of just little winks and nods that he loves to hide surprises for all of the readers to find. Um, little surprises. So look for faces when you're looking through our books, or look for different callbacks. Look for characters who are acting in surprising ways. And yeah, and then now you know that Hair is based on me, and there are other characters as well who will come up in the future.
Oh, I love that. And now, as you're speaking, I of course got my book out and I'm flipping through the pages and taking an even closer look than before. And yes, I'm
Yes,
seeing them. I'm seeing them.
yeah,
I won't give away, well, I mean, it's not really a giveaway, but yes, I'm seeing owls' faces and things that I didn't see around the table.
yeah.
I'm seeing expressions hidden that I didn't see. Oh, I'm definitely going to go back and read the pictures a bit more to
True.
find those secret things.
His art really draws kids in.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And like I said, those speech bubbles, just right from the get-go, are just inviting readers to be, oh, okay, there's action.
Mm.
There is something going on here.
Yep.
Oh, I love it. Now, related to wanting to lean in a second read or a third read or however many reads as we are reading it to look at the illustrations, I want to make sure I give you the chance to bring up that you have some really great extras on your website related to these books that teachers, librarians, parents, anybody could use as well. So I'd love for you to talk about those so listeners can know where to find them and know that they're available to complement the books.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Well, on my website, KristenRemenar.com, spelled just like my name with no spaces, um, because I was an elementary school teacher and a children's librarian, I know that sometimes it's really nice to have something that kind of goes along with the book.
Mhm.
Um, like especially just a really easy, free click and print thing you can do is sometimes
Yes.
a lovely extension. So, for example, for Owl's Fall Feast Fiasco, we have two different like coloring sheets that ask kids to kind of reflect on how people make assumptions about them. So there's sheets that ask kids to write for themselves. Because I blank, you might think I blank, but actually I blank. Because I think a lot of kids have had assumptions made about them too, because I'm a girl or a boy, or I'm short or I'm tall or whatever people might think something about them, but actually, and I think it's interesting to hear what kids might reveal about themselves, what they wish people knew about them that other people are getting wrong.
Yeah.
And of course, I had to include a worksheet with a recipe for the jellied carrots, just in case anyone is wondering, what do jellied carrots actually taste like? I did not include a recipe for,
The
cricket
Vegebush.
chutney. And the Vegemush, Vegemite is a brand name, so I didn't include that. But for people who live here in Michigan, who come to our reading events, we have actually brought Vegemite for kids to try. And we've had some brave souls try it and say, it's very salty. Some say it's not bad, and others have said it's not for them. So,
But they gave it a try, and
but
that's
they
all
give
that
it a try.
matters.
It's an acquired taste for some. But yeah, Vegemite. It's a very interesting flavor, I'd say.
Yeah. So I had no idea that was based on something real. So from
Yeah,
upstate New York, I didn't know that was a Michigan thing. So now I'm really intrigued and we'll have to do a little dive.
yeah. Well, actually, I based it on like Australians. Like there's like Vegemite is from Australia, and technically, it's this big thing down in Australia is Vegemite. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so we ordered some from Australia, and oh, I it's not something I would have ever come up with myself,
Yeah.
but it's something.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It just kind of rounds out that this is the perfect time for it, right? You have these get-togethers where people, might make use of those sentence stems you just provided and really have some great conversations together.
Mhm.
And there's lots of different foods to try, and who knows, maybe Vegemite will end up on the table of someone because they have read your book and
Yeah,
listened to this podcast.
give Vegemite a try. You might actually like it.
Oh, now beyond that, what might happen for readers who read your book? I'd love for you to tell us about your hope for the book or your hope for readers who read it.
Well, the first hope is, of course, to just enjoy and to laugh over the silliness of all the things that Owl gets wrong and of his friends having to have, for years, having to been gently trying to nudge him in the direction of maybe you could ask, and for Owl to keep just having his eyes glaze over and no, having trying to focus on his perfect fall feast without really listening to others. And yeah, I guess my hope is for us to um, take a note at the end from Owl where he realizes, oh, actually, maybe I'll start asking my friends what they actually like and to see his friends for the individuals they are rather than the categories that he has placed them in. Um, I think it's really easy for any of us to look at our neighbors, our friends, our family members, uh, anyone in the country, anyone in other countries, and to put people into categories. You are this kind of person, so automatically you fit every stereotype I've ever thought about this kind of person. Nope, all of us are unique individuals. None of us fits every stereotype, and we should all be celebrated for being unique, authentic individuals.
I mean, what a gift that a book could do that, and just how much of a better place the world would be if we all had that view.
Oh,
And your readers will get that lesson in such a delightful way.
hopefully, thank you.
So, can you give us any sneak peeks into other things you've been working on or ideas or anything else you want to drop here?
Well, those of us those who were in my story, I was a children's librarian for 13 years at the Orion Township Public Library. Shout out to my old library. And I always had a hedgehog puppet
Mm.
named Barb, because of course her name would have to be Barb. And so hedgehogs have always been, I've always thought they're really cool. And there is a upcoming book um, soon, not in the Groundhog and Friends world, but there will be a picture book coming soon with a hedgehog who came directly out of my experience of having a stroke and having to work through speech issues, having to learn how to get my words out again.
Right.
So yeah, the whole my issues of having to work through not always being able to get my words out very well. Um, I've been able to kind of find a little bit of a silver lining in that and write about it. And a hedgehog figures prominently.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't
Yeah,
wait for that.
yeah.
Where's the best place for listeners to find you online so they could keep up with that news that might be coming later?
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm Kristen Remenar, so my website is kristenremenar.com. And I'm on Instagram as Kristen_Remenar. So you can find me there.
Okay.
Or on Facebook, Kristen Remenar.
I love when they're all pretty similar. It makes it easy to collect them for the
I
show.
tried to make that easy. Yep,
Yes.
just me.
I I will make sure that I put all of those links in the show notes and of course links to Owl's Fall Feast Fiasco in the show notes as well. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us about this wonderful book. It was really such a great time getting to know you and the backstory behind all of the books.
Oh, my pleasure, Stephanie. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And listeners, thank you for listening to another episode of KidLit Love, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the KidLit Love podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. You'll also find KidLit Love on Substack. That's where you'll find posts for each episode, monthly KidLit roundups, and an invitation to join my summer book club and go deeper into the world of children's literature. And if you loved this podcast and want more, you might like to listen to my other podcast called Get Literate. It's a podcast that explores all things books and reading, notebooks and writing to build a life you love. One more thing. If you loved what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish community of KidLit Love. Thanks for listening.